Let's bring into the conversation member of the Armed Services and Foreign Relations Committee, Democratic Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia. Senator Kaine, first of all, happy birthday. Thanks for starting your day with us. Sorry to have some light banter about Iran to start your birthday, but here we are. You have been raising the red flag for a while now about what you say looks like stumbling into war with Iran. What are your concerns right now as these talks go on as we speak in Geneva? But to the side, President Trump and the Foreign Ministry of Iran sort of escalate their rhetoric publicly.
Well, I'll just echo the points that your colleagues were already making. You've not made the president hadn't made the case to the American public, and they don't have a clear objective. It's to stop a nuclear program. Wait a minute. President Trump said it was obliterated 6 months ago. It's to protect protesters. Wait a minute. The Trump administration is deporting Iranians back into Iran, including Iranian Christians, where they'll be persecuted there. They don't care about how Iranians are treated. Wait a minute. It's for other reasons, to change the regime, etc. They don't have a clear objective. And as my former colleague and my friend Claire McCaskill says, this looks like Iraq, which was a disaster, but without the work done at the front end to try to convince the American public and Congress that it's a good idea. That's why I have a resolution that will likely be called up early next week to put everybody in the Senate on record. Do you want to go to war or not? My resolution says no war in Iran without a vote of Congress, and everybody needs to declare and then be held accountable by their voters.
John Lemire, what is so fascinating about the president moving toward war with Iran in this way is that in my personal conversations with President Trump during his presidency and going back before he was president, he heaped mountains of contempt on George W. Bush. It is a recurring theme, worst president ever, one of the worst. And it all centered on his invasion of Iraq. And so I think it's fascinating that Donald Trump now finds himself in a position where he could be following in George W. Bush's footprints. He could also be following, quite possibly, in Joe Biden's footsteps on Afghanistan, when just about every general around Joe Biden, every admiral around Joe Biden, just about every military official around Joe Biden said, don't take all of our troops out of Afghanistan. Leave 2,000. Leave enough to maintain security. Joe Biden ignored them. It was a disastrous withdrawal. George W. Bush, of course, didn't want to hear from Colin Powell because, as he admitted later, he knew Powell was against the war, so he never asked him. I'm just curious, is Donald Trump going to repeat the mistake that he loathed so much in George W. Bush?
I mean, it feels like ancient history, but a big part of his 2016 campaign was very popular. He would denounce the forever wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and say he would never do the same. And here we are on the doorstep of another Middle East intervention. And we know President Trump has really fallen in love with the idea of the quick strike, the one-off action. What we saw last summer in Iran, of course, what we saw in Venezuela in early January. But there's no sense that this, if it were to happen, would stay limited to that. And Senator Kaine, he has not made the case to the public. He's barely made the case to Congress. I know the Gang of Eight got a briefing the other day. He hasn't said why we're doing this. He also has not leveled with the people as to what it could actually look like. So I'm asking you, could you do that? If this indeed turns into a wider war with Iran, what would that look like there in the region, but also the consequences, including economic consequences, back here at home?
Well, yeah, let me start there, Jonathan. The president got elected on bringing prices down, and the American public and Virginians are mad that the reverse is happening. Prices are going up, job growth is slowing, economic growth is slowing, and this war will hurt the economy. You'll see oil prices go up immediately if the president starts a war here, and people will wonder, why are you focusing on these foreign misadventures instead of making our lives easier around the kitchen table? So economically, there's real problems. And then you just have this issue of okay, what's the consequence for U.S. troops? We have troops all around the region. Our military is so overmatching the Iranian military, but because we have troops everywhere, we have troops still have troops in Syria. We have troops in Iraq. We have troops in Lebanon and Israel, places that are within easy reach of Iran. And because we have them spread everywhere, it's hard to protect them all. We can overmatch the Iranian military, but if they decide they want to attack a U.S. consulate in Erbil, for example, they'll put U.S. lives at risk in doing that. And then what would happen? They would maybe have a feeble attack on a few U.S. positions, some U.S. troops or others would be killed, and then President Trump would say, oh, well, now we got to go in, complete guns blazing against Iran, and then we're in a massive conflagration. When I came into the Senate in 2013, after having been governor, and seen my National Guard troops deployed again and again and again into wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, I made a promise to myself that I would fight against an unnecessary war to my last breath to keep inflicting on Virginia families what they suffered in the last 25 years. If we have to do it to defend the nation, I'm on the Armed Services Committee, and I'll put up a green light. But on something like this that's unnecessary, we had stopped the Iranian nuclear program with the diplomatic deal that Donald Trump tore up. It's so unnecessary, and I'm going to fight to my last breath to make sure that we don't commit the mistakes of the past.
Not just the lessons of the past, the lessons of the very recent past. Democratic member of the Armed Services and Foreign Relations Committee, Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia. Senator, thanks again and happy birthday to you. We'll see you soon. Still ahead on Morning